Welcome to Bible Hacking. My name is Greg, and I've been a Christian for most of my life. I remember being about 5 or so years old, praying hard for my mother to get saved, as well as praying for my dad. And that's pretty much been my life up until this point. That's not to say that I'm a better Christian than you, or I know the Bible better than you, or anything like that, as you'll see as I get later on in the story. I am keenly aware that I'm extremely flawed. I've screwed up more times than I've not screwed up in my life so far, and it's truly God's grace that has me here. As a matter of fact, I know for sure I couldn't earn or deserve anything, even breathing life. I don't deserve that based on the amount of times I've screwed up. I'll give you one simple example. I remember getting married at a very young age. Why? Because I did the template. 19 years old. My then wife, ex-wife, was 18 years old. We got married in a rush, and I had kept myself for marriage, and felt like I was doing the right thing. I found a nice girl in church, etc. That was bad. Like it ended up very poorly, and I did a piss poor job of being a husband and a father. And that was a large part of why that relationship failed. So that's just one example of one of my tremendous failings. Back to the story. Been saved most of my life. And I find myself and my family right now in Dallas, Texas, where we live, 2,300 miles away from the country where we grew up, where we met, where we lived, and where all our family still resides. For myself personally, I'm also about 4,900 miles away from the country where I was born. I say that to say I am comfortable being outside of my comfort zone, if that makes any sense. I'm used to being outside of my comfort zone, and that's where God has brought me, and that's why we're doing Bible hacking. So about 5, 6 years ago or so, praying, saying, God, what's next? Show me what you want, etc. God started opening up my eyes to something that I had truly never heard before or never understood before. That being the Bible, while being for us, was not written to us. That sounds simple, but it changed my outlook on the Bible and Christianity from that point forward. I started, studying and following teachers and preachers and, biblical-based teachers that looked at the Bible and they taught it from that perspective. Why is that important? The authors of the Bible, I came to understand, wrote the Bible to their audience. They wrote the Bible with their worldview, their cosmology, and everything else that they understood in their text. So us reading it as a 21st century believer, we are inevitably going to insert our context into it, which may not be bad per se. Sometimes it could be, but it's not explicitly bad. However, it definitely obscures large parts of what that author was trying to say to his audience. So as I started studying and digging into the text from that perspective, my mind was opened, and I believe it was opened by the Holy Spirit. I'm a firm believer in just praying and asking the Holy Spirit to lead you and then grabbing the Bible and reading a random verse. While not bad, it is not sufficient. It does not replace good study. It does not replace taking the time and the effort to dig into it. Like Paul told Timothy, study to show yourself approved. Be prepared to defend. This isn't Paul anymore. I think this is Peter. Be prepared to defend the gospel that you've been given. How do you defend it if you don't know it, if you haven't studied it, if you can't recognize what it is, where it is, and what the messaging is? That's what Bible hacking is about. Bible hacking is my attempt to share with you technologies, techniques, tools, methods, and what I find in my journey of digging into the text and really trying to interpret the text for what the text says, not for what I needed to say based on the problem that I happen to be, going through today. Not, for example, trying to be David in the David and Goliath story because, I don't like my boss and my boss will be the Goliath. No. While sometimes that analogy might work, It was definitely not what the author was saying, and very often we miss the whole point if that's all that we're looking for in the Bible. So, with that being said, this is Bible hacking. Last thing I want to say, I work in the technology field, and while this channel and everything around it, I willingly submitted it to my church. So I go to a local church in Dallas, Texas, and the church leadership, I brought this website to them and the YouTube channel, and I said, look, you get the right to tell me this is wrong, take that video down, theology-wise, you're screwing up here, you're messing up, you said this too harsh, or whatever. I have submitted it to them. That being said, I don't work for the church. I work in another field altogether. I don't make money off of this, and I want to be extremely clear. There is no Patreon page. There will never be a Patreon page. This is not about me trying to get another source of income. The content here will always be free. And while we do have merch, I'll share the link to the merch store, the merch is being sold at cost. Quite literally, whatever the vendor provides me a t-shirt at, that's what I'm selling it for. Why? Because this is not my source of income. This is me trying to be obedient to God, saying, what you've learned, share it. The tools you've learned to use, share them. And that's all this is. So I hope this helps. Hope you tune in and keep subscribing, and hopefully we can get engaged on live Q&As or whatever one of these times. It's going to be awesome. Welcome to Bible Hacking, and enjoy the journey with me.